back to Get With The Programming. I'm Chase Ingram.
I'm Captain America.
And along with me is Bill. What was that?
I was
the mic?
No.
What the hell was that?
I had YouTube on the other channel, but it wasn't muted. And I was hopping over there to talk to Barry and be like, "What's up, bro? You don't think we're shredded enough?" And as I do that, all of a sudden it blew up. And I'm like,
got it.
Sorry, I fucked up the whole beginning.
Hey, man, it's about time you fucked up the beginning.
That shocked me. I went like, I didn't even know what to do. I'm like, wait, I didn't touch anything.
Well, that's what I thought. I was like, did I press the wrong button? What's the screaming button? I don't remember having a screaming button at all. Happy Wednesday, everybody. A impromptu midday Wednesday show. Dude, this schedule adjustment for my son starting kindergarten.
He made me laugh yesterday, actually.
Yeah. I was like, hey, I forgot I'm coaching my son's soccer team today. I was doing a podcast for the CrossFit Games today with Adrian Conway, and we're talking about kids sports. And I'm coaching 2 of my son's sports, and then one of my daughters, and then Dylan is dabbling in jiu-jitsu right now, which is
sweet.
There's no grappling yet. It's just forward roll, back roll. The technique stuff, like, it's like CrossFit Kids. Like, you're just getting them to move, maybe squat. We're not learning how to snatch just yet.
Right.
But it's a lot. But he gets out of school at like 3:15, and I'm used to him getting out of daycare at 6. Now I realize that is not normal either. Like, Blake is 8 to 6, and it is incredible. But now, like, like 3 hours of my day has been chopped off, so it's like, our normal time around 1:30 for you, it's like, okay, I got to get Dylan, and then I got to get home, and then I got to put on like a Spanish-speaking movie just to keep him involved with speaking Spanish.
Yeah.
And then I'll come in here for an hour.
I get it.
But
well, maybe this time frame will end up being closer to the time then.
Yes, and this is a good point, and I had this conversation the other day. Is like, go FY. Chase, the fastest 12 to 13 years are coming for you. Yes.
Yeah.
That's like one of my biggest fears, and has been since they were born, is I'll hear it all the time. I mean, you've told me too, is like, I've got a 5 and a 3-year-old. They're about to be 6 and 4 come February. And I'll see a picture from them from 6 months ago. And I'm like, where is that baby?
Yeah.
Or that small child? And I'll look at them now. So I try to be present. I try to absorb, but I still feel like it's like when like a rope gets ripped off and you're trying to like hold on to it. And I'm like, it's going too fast for me to hold on to.
Oh, dude, you can't.
I'm just watching.
I mean, all you can do, like, literally, dude, and I never got this stuff when I was younger. Like, I think it's a complete age thing to even have a remote understanding of, like, the whole be present thing.
Yeah.
Like, it is honestly true. I mean, when you're younger, you're in your 30s, even like in your 40s, like you're running, you're going for it. Like, everything is just on full throttle ahead, everything. But like, you get older and you start realizing that, dude, I just literally closed my eyes for a short nap, and that was 8 months. Boom, it just went by like that. Yeah. You're like, wow, okay. So, I mean, all you can do is just be all in right at that moment, whatever that moment is,
Being present is one I try to be, but like, dude, it's hard sometimes. It's like,
very hard.
I'm having a rough day. The kids are just being kids.
Yeah.
But I perceive them as being just total like terrorist assholes. And I'm like,
purposely trying to fuck your day up.
Yeah. I was like, we're starting bedtime 15 minutes early. You're getting one book, and pick the short one and just like go to sleep and just let me go downstairs and just relax. And I'm like, oh, what am I doing? But it's just, that's it.
There's an old movie. It's a Steve Martin movie, Parenthood.
Ooh.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
So there was a part in that movie, and I think that everyone that has kids needs to see that movie if they haven't. Like, get the old movies on Netflix or whatever. And it's Steve Martin, who's all stressed out about his older kid that's having a really hard time playing baseball, sucks at baseball, and he gets all tensed about it because the kid's not doing very good, and they're not doing very good. Yeah. And the wife, and I can't remember her name, but she was big like in the 80s, was like, this maybe it was a therapist. Maybe it was either her or the therapist was telling them about like what parenthood is all about. It's about being on a roller coaster ride. And you have all the ups and downs, and the downs can be super, super scary when you're like, oh, you're freaking out because it's scary and everything. But you have to like enjoy the ride, all the ups and all the downs, whether they're being perfect little angels or they're being batshit crazy where you're like, I don't even know what it is that you are doing right now or where this even came from. Because in a year's time, you'll look back and then you'll be like, you remember that time? And it will be the biggest laugh session that you'll have. It's crazy, dude. It's you gotta just ride the ride, man. Strap in and ride the ride.
Yeah. I think
good and the bad.
I think as parents we get, I don't know if it's stress, social pressure, or just like fear of like doing a good job and doing something permanent in a bad way. Of like,
all those are true.
I spoke to him. I ended the day on a poor note with my kid or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get it.
That being said, it's life is full. Life is full in a lot of ways. They just got this question from Jason. Did y'all go on vacation? It's like, no.
Yeah, no.
We went on a hiatus. And, sometimes, like Bill's got a crazy world. I've got a crazy world for a lot of different paths, reasons, and we live on different sides of the country. And the stars haven't aligned recently, but they do today. They will again tomorrow. So we'll be back about the same time tomorrow. So if you guys enjoy the absolute nothing we're talking about right now, we'll do some more of this tomorrow at about the same time. But today, this is what happened. So we're going to talk about the Northern California Classic. Is this the fourth year?
I think it's our fourth year.
Fourth year? Speaking of time going by fast, I remember the first year, and you were a big part of that.
Yeah.
Especially on the media coverage side.
Yeah.
And we had this conversation because a lot of times, the basis of the show is analyzing the programming. Right? The show is Get With the Program. We talk all things programming. We're the first ones to really pour ourselves into this, and now we have more people in the space, which is great because then we can have more conversations about it. But we get very analytical when we see programming, and a lot of the time it's a reaction of, it's always like, is this a fully balanced, perfect test of fitness? Not perfect test of fitness, but the best test of fitness we can possibly find. Fittest man, woman team. We always look at that first. But we also always say is we should judge programming based off the purpose of the competition or the purpose of the event or the intent of the event. And I specifically, because of this one today, I knee-jerk react when I first looked at this, and I was like, okay, this is almost like so weird. And I was like, I don't like it. And you were there MCing, and you're like, no, man, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to do that because the more I looked at it from the outside, and I wasn't even there in person, I was like, damn, this looked like a really cool, kick-ass CrossFit competition. The programming was a part of it, but it almost wasn't even the mainstay reason of why that thing exists.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we, through the course of this podcast, have morphed is to really understanding, because, we look at the games. The games has one purpose. We all know what the why is for the games. And we've even talked about how there needs to be a specific why for semifinals, a specific why for quarterfinals, a specific why for the open, because of what they're trying to do in that game season. There's a specific reason. Then you have, the why for the Wadapalooza and the why for the Rogue and the why for the Madrid Championship. And we start talking about all these different reasons. And it's then come into, that is the purpose of the program. I mean, we're all CrossFitters, and CrossFitters understand the idea of overall fitness and general physical preparedness, in that, having a high level of, expertise or ability in the 10 physical traits. And so we're looking at all of those things for sure. But on these off-season or out-of-season events, it almost becomes more important about the reason that you're doing. And I think you can even liken that to, why the heck do we do Murph on Memorial Day?
Right.
Because if you look at what Murph is, it's a murderous event.
It's a murder test.
It's a murder test. And it's like, what do? We rally up all CrossFitters of all levels, of all experience levels. And we all go, all right, bitches, We're going to strap you up with some weight. We're going to make you run further than you have probably with that weight on. We're going to make you do a shit ton of volume that you probably should never be doing anyway. But we're going to do it and have a beer afterwards because that's what we do.
Look at Chad on Veterans Day coming down the pipeline. Right? Like the first time I did that, 1,000 box step-ups with a 40-pound pack on. I was like, yeah, I can do this. And like the hour afterwards, I'm like,
what
the no.
Right. We did say we have our 9/11 workout that we do. Mm-hmm. It's a partner workout generally, but a lot of people, want to do it without it being a partner. And if you do it with a partner, it's 4 rounds, 200-meter partner carry with a kettlebell. So you can split it up as your team however you want.
Yeah.
Then each person has to do 10 partner squats.
Okay.
So you're squatting your partner, and then you have 50 kettlebell swings as a team. If you're doing it by yourself, you have to carry a barbell with either 135 or 95 pounds and your kettlebell. So already that right there, that awkwardness is going to mess you up. You got the bar across your back, hurts like a mother effer, mashes your trap out like crazy. And then you have 15 back squats with that weight and then 25 swings. And everyone that looks at that is like, oh, is that all we're doing? I mean, we have one of our big dudes.
Right.
He can back squat like 500 pounds. He's like, hey, so do you think I should do this with 205? I'm like, just do it with the 135. And it beat his ass. Yeah. And everybody is complaining about how the bone on the back of their neck is sore. So it's like, is that, we're not doing it because it's the appropriate test that we should be doing that day. It's because there's a reason behind it. So when we look at these other events, coming back around to that, I think that almost becomes the precipice, like the highest priority is why are we programming, and what is the actual thing that we're trying to program for? Whether it's the games being the ultimate, point of fitness, or if we're looking at like the Northern California Classic, what is the specific reason for that? Right. So, and I think that's what's really cool. And I think we've really leaned into that a lot, which is good because I don't think anyone else is really thinking that way. They all go to, there's only too many long events here, too many short events, too many this, too many that. It's like, well, yeah, it's not the games.
Right.
So,
and 2 is sometimes we do fall in that trap of it's like objective point of view, is this good or bad? And part of why I wanted to talk about the Northern California Classic today is like, we'll talk about the programming. We'll talk about modalities and time domains and is this a good test for this demographic of athlete for a final or this movement or whatever. But what I really wanted to get at was exactly what you're centering around is let's not let that be a dictator of if this event was a kick-ass thing to go to as a fan, even more fun to experience as an athlete, especially in the off season for really what off season events were meant to be to begin with. And before like sanctionals became a thing or Wadapalooza became a thing or the Rogue Invitational or Dubai, was a lot of these off-season competitions were just the same reason why the game started in 2007. Right? And
let's showcase. It's about a showcase.
And not even that, is like, let's just get together, throw down, eat some food, drink some beer, celebrate with our friends, talk some shit. Like an old school backyard barbecue throwdown. That's what it used to be. And I think where sometimes some of these events lost their way is that they wanted to be a professional CrossFit event or a sanctioned event or like the CrossFit Games, which it's good to have those in the sport. Just like, say, a golf event. There's 4 majors, or tennis. There's 4 majors worldwide. But like, hey, every once in a while, I just want to do a scramble with my buddies and like, let's just go play golf.
Yeah.
Right. Let's just go do CrossFit. Let's just go compete. And that's where I want to talk about the Northern California Classic because, they have this on here is the history of it. When regionals went away in 2018, the West Coast was left without a premier fitness event to showcase its athletes. The NorCal Classic was created to fill the void, to bring back everything the CrossFit community loved about the early days of competition. That meant high-level tests, athletes of all ages and abilities, and a vibe undeniable to our region. that is the NorCal Classic. That is what they wanted to bring back. And I mean, if we go about where it began,
Right.
And a lot of the things, if people remember of like old California regionals, I think prior to 2015, you think's fair?
Yeah, easily.
It was that.
Yeah. I mean, it was, in what was great about, or what is great about the NorCal Classic is it has the CrossFit Games vibe 2007, 2008, 2009 feel. Outside, you're in the elements, it's dirty. Everyone's got their tents put up all over the place. Everything is dusty. But everybody's smiling. Everyone's having a blast. Everyone's, jumping in the lake afterwards. I mean, it's really, really cool. Even if you go to, some of the early sectionals that we had in the, when you had the Northern California sectional where it was raining on everyone one year and then it's super hot and everyone's burning their hands on the bars the next year. We're down south in Southern California at the fairgrounds on all blacktop with black mat on top of that, and then trying to do pull-ups, for sets of 40 or whatever it is. I think it was 2012.
Yeah.
Bars are burning. You're out there snatching in the sun. Everyone has to wear sunglasses because it's so damn sunny out there. And it is a feeling that Blair and Ben, and his whole Anywhere crew, CrossFit Anywhere crew, Blair Morrison, and Ben Alderman, those guys are two OG guys.
Right.
And Blair was always kind of and I think this is what's great, because where he started, he was known for, his CrossFit gym, CrossFit Anywhere. It's because he was literally the first guy that I heard anywhere that would do these outside workouts. And he would actually go to different countries and have people come with him, and they would go and do these weird workouts, like up on a mountain, and you take this rope and you take your kettlebell and your rings, and you have to hike up or run up this hill, and then you got to throw your rope over, and you got to do rope climbs. And that was what he did. That was his thing. So he likes the exposure to the elements. And I love that he brings it into competitions like this, because it's events that you wouldn't normally do in your regular gym.
Right.
And, we were actually even talking about this weekend that whenever you have an event or events within your competition that are off-site, off the center stage, off of like the blacktop area or the all matted area, you run the risk of all kinds of things and weird variables that you now have to deal with. Terrain and directions that people are going, and blocking certain things off, and do you have access to this? Do you not have enough access to that? And he's like, I know. He's like, but I don't want to not have that. He's like, it's too important to include that. And I'm like, you're right. So I love that old school feel, and those, they will always do that. And then one of the first things they say when they have their athlete briefing is that, we want this to be what has been moved away from as far as the CrossFit community, at least in California, having that old school feel. We wanted a regional type feel, a very community-based type feel. And that's why that's why the regionals, when everyone makes a big deal about that, is because how it felt. You went there with your crew. You camped up your tents. And everyone circled up in their little areas and huddled up, and they had their beach chairs, and they had their, igloos full of all their food for the day. And at the end of the day, even though they had 2 more days to go, everything's dusty, everything's dirty, and then you go to wherever it's going to go, and you come back the next morning like all smiles, here we go.
Yep.
And that was a really cool feeling, and I think that they've done a really good job of bringing that specific feel back, because I don't really think you get that same thing at any of these other events. It's not professional, but it's really hard. It's really hard to walk the line of professional and old school at the same time.
And so it's funny. I did a whole entire podcast today on the CrossFit Games podcast with Matt O'Keefe and Adrian Conway talking about professionalizing
the
games season, or what makes a games athlete. And I think you can, and this is what I believe that Ben and Blair do, is that you can be professional in your pursuit to put on an incredibly fun event, yet still make sure that we are not here to be almost like a corporate competition.
Right. Well, what makes it feel professional? It's on time, smooth. You feel like everything's judged fairly.
Yeah.
You things are run in a specific way, regardless of whether it's in some velodrome somewhere or on the beach of some lake.
Yeah.
Those are what I think really will make. I mean, you know how it is. The old adage is, if you want to have an event, the way you get people to come back to the event is you make sure everything's on time.
Yep.
And like, that's your first. If you mess
Number
that
one.
up, you're done. It doesn't matter how badass or how much money you have or anything. Like, people are gonna be like, "Fuck that, I'm not going."
Yep.
So I think that's where you go, hold to those kind of standards, and then you go from there.
Yeah. Schedule things you don't want anybody to talk about negatively of your event. Schedule, judging, and then maybe programming. All right. But on the programming side is that and this is where we lead off, and we'll dive into this next, is that it's not necessarily as like, hey, it was like the perfect test. It was like, that was dumb and dangerous.
Right.
And then you have this giant thing in between.
Yeah.
Like, as long as it wasn't dumb and dangerous, and you're not trying to be like, hey, this is the fittest person in NorCal. It's like everything else in between is like, and this is what we're going to expand on is like, oh, was that the greatest event ever programmed? I don't know. No. Was it the most fun? Yes. It's like, okay, I'll take that.
Yeah.
Because that's what we wanted to be. Right?
Okay. Well,
come back to.
I think a way to kind of shed light on that is, when people talk, and we've had our shows where we had like Sean and Tommy and everybody on, and it's like the greatest CrossFit event ever, and it's always the push-pull, right? Yeah. With Rich and Josh going head to head. It wasn't because that was the greatest programmed event.
No,
it was the whole encasing of that event. The nighttime in the tennis stadium with the lights on, the battle between these perennial names like, Josh and Rich, and how it went down, like that whole picture is what made that the greatest. It's not because it was the greatest programmed event.
Very basic.
I mean, very basic, and there were a lot of things, honestly, that it was like, well, the way the rope's being pulled, and it's, sleds get in the way, and it's like, this kind of actually messes up this thing. I mean, the event itself wasn't programmed as anything that would resemble anything greatest, I don't think by any means. But you put all of the stuff on it, and it's one of the greatest races that we've had.
Yep.
Which is cool.
Yeah. Okay, and so to go with this flow is we want to talk about, like, hey, this is an old school classic California CrossFit competition that we haven't had in a long. I mean, when was the last time we've had something outside, say, the West Coast Classic? When was that? 2021?
Man.
Right?
Yeah.
2021?
Yeah.
And then it got moved to Vegas?
Yeah.
But even then, like, that's when we were trying to be sanctioned events.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And so let's just touch on that. And the first thing I wanted to talk about is like the location, right? That location they had, which is just like anything in California that deals with CrossFit and it's by water,
win.
You're already off to a great start.
Win.
Yeah. Yeah. And JR makes a great point, is like, what is one of the most heralded off-season things that very few people talk about or remember that were there was the Tahoe Throwdown or the Rogue versus Again Faster.
Dude.
Like, if the greatest programmed head-to-head matchup with the most even players of all time? No. Was it one of the most awesome grassroots OG throwdowns ever? Yes.
If you haven't seen any of those videos, and you're a CrossFitter, you've been doing it for I've been doing CrossFit for 5 years, 8 years. You need, and I stress need to go back and watch those videos, because they are unbelievable. Unbelievable. The log throw. Dude, I mean, it was literally getting two camps of people together and go like, we're just going to make up some competitions right now. Ready? Line up. Let's race. Like, that's all it was. Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, here it is. Just go to YouTube and type
you found them, right?
Yeah. Rogue versus Again Faster. Part 1, part 2, part 3. Like, it's there.
So good.
Look at this. Oh, God, I hope we don't get dinged for this. Nope, don't play that song. We have too small of subscription following to get dinged like that.
Right.
God, I wonder if we're going to get flack for posting this. God, who has this? Cross the Games? Oh, yeah, we're for sure getting in trouble for this. Come on, commercial. Let's see. Is there music? No. Let's see. Team Again Faster versus Team Rogue. People probably know what Again Faster is.
Man, they're still around. I still get emails.
Look at this.
Doing the missed score, we're going to close the thing too.
Yeah, totally. All right, so this is where the points really start to add up. We've only got a 1
Yeah.
lead. We might as well have a no-point lead, okay? We're going to go 2 on 2.
That's so great.
2 of our women are going to have to go at this point. We're going to...
All right. I don't know if I have
go
to
there. You guys go there and see it.
Yeah, you guys go there. Anyways, it's there. It's awesome.
Awesome.
All right, back to the setup. It's in a park. Is this like a state park?
Yeah, it's Lake Natomas Aquatics Center, and it's Lake Natomas right there. And there's like a campground that's right alongside of the lake. So this big, nice open area right next to the lake. And in that lake, they do all kinds of like sailing and paddling and rowing and all kinds of stuff. It's cool. I think it's the Sacramento State does a lot of their water type events, their boating type events there too.
Mm-hmm. Which is awesome, right? And you say like Athlete Village, and then you have a food court, vendor village, beer garden,
Right by the
lakeside
water.
stage. And then when you're in this park, I can only assume in Athlete Village and around it, it's just nothing but pop-up tents and lawn chairs.
Dude, just dirt, pop-up tents. I mean, it's a sea of pop-up tents. It's just covered.
Yeah.
Tent to tent.
And that's what it used to be.
Totally. You look back at any of the old CrossFit Games stuff, like when it was up in Aromas, and that's exactly what it looked like.
Mm-hmm.
Were yours when you guys did yours, your old regionals like 2010, all those, was that outside or was that inside?
Outside.
Yeah, same deal. So like that's it. Every CrossFitter had a pop-up tent, dude, because that's how it was.
So fun part is there's affiliate summits that go around. It's actually around the world. Like if you guys are affiliate owners and you're in certain regions in the United States, like you have an affiliate rep. West Coast is Katie Hogan, where Bill is at, and they have affiliate owner summits, which is basically a 1 day. We say 1 day gathering of affiliate owners, and we bring in staff from HQ. I mean, I think everyone's in California has had Don Fall, Nicole Carroll, and Dave Castro and Boz. Like everybody has been at those. We're having our second one for my region, which is Arizona all the way to Mississippi with Oklahoma in between. And we're hosting it in Fort Worth, Texas in November at a gym called CrossFit Iron Horse. Well, that gym used to be called GFX. And that's where we had the 2009 and 2010 South Central Regionals.
You can still find your videos of you dressed up in your red, white, and blue.
Yeah, I did find
all shaved head.
Yeah. And it used to be called Hell's Half Acre because the whole plot is on the half acre. You remember that? Hell's Half Acre?
Yeah.
It's in May in Texas, and it's 100 degrees. Half of the events are on a black top. Nothing was inside the gym, and they had this outdoor area. And I got to walk around for a site visit, and I just sat there for like probably 5 minutes by myself outside, just kind of taking it all in.
Yeah.
But it was like that, right? It was outdoors, and there's a reason why we didn't go outdoors again after 2011.
Yeah.
When the regionals were in like late May to June in Tomball, Texas. So, yes, that was the old school vibes that we had there. But Yeah. But okay, so here's what I do. I do want to look at the programming,
Do it. Yeah.
and I don't know if this is the exact order. That's just the order they have on Competition Corner. But the first thing they have on there is a lake swim. So now you have this off-season competition. You have this at a state park. It's in California, and you have an event that's a lake swim. How far was the swim?
I believe it was 300 meters. It was across the lake, basically.
Okay, so a straight shot.
Straight shot across the lake on that map that you had. And then they have that. That's one score. But then they also have the ruck run that's attached to that.
Right.
That is part of the other score. So it's all kind of included, but the swim across is a score.
Okay, so they had swim across, and that was into the ruck run?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So everyone's swimming. If you see some of like Hiller's videos, Hiller was out there this weekend. It was pretty fun. He had some videos where the guys would, or the people, they had like a dry bag attached to them, and they had their shoes in there.
Oh,
so they get to the other side, then they can put their shoes on, and then they.
Oh, was that the fanny pack thing that Tim Paulson had? Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. Did anybody swim with their shoes on?
Yeah, I think it was Phil Muscarelli did. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna save time on the transitions. He's like, and I got in the water and I realized I had anchors on my feet.
Yeah, bro. What are you talking about? Save time on the transitions. You know how much time it takes to swim 400 meters with shoes on, and then run afterwards? Nothing about
those squishy boots.
Okay, so you have a dry bag swim. I'm gonna say they're starting at this kind of like lakeside stage, and they go across. Or where did they start?
Yeah, the lakeside stage, they go straight across. I mean, like literally straight across over to the Go Ruck area. Oh, right over there.
All right, so that was part A to basically this long gathered event. And
right.
then the Go Ruck Adventure says 300 meter swim, so that's part A.
Part A.
Overlook obstacle course.
So what they had was 2 jerry bags, soft jerry bags, kind of like what they had in the game. So they had the long, kind of sloppy looking things. And then they had, I think it was 5 fence barriers that they had to put the bags over the fence and go over. They had to go down and then go back. So that was their obstacle course.
Okay. Coldest water. Did you feel the water temp? Caden said the water was cold.
I mean, it was cold. Honestly, it was nice because it was so dang hot there.
What was the temperature there?
It got up to like 95, 98, I think, in the middle of the day, up on the blacktop. I mean,
that's solid.
It was warm. It was warm.
Okay, so they had the obstacle course. Then they hit 1,000 meter run.
Yep.
And then 10 ring muscle ups.
Yeah. So the run basically took them back around the lake, kind of like where the aquatics area is, back up to the start area.
So do they come
lakeside
across
stage.
This?
It was either that or around the other side. I can't remember exactly where it came through, but then they came up to the lakeside stage, and that's where they had the rings hung up, and it was first come, first serve on the rings, and you had to go into your rings from there.
Nice.
Yeah.
So a cool little obstacle course, little off road, outside the box.
Yeah, totally.
Intended.
Yeah.
All right, and so when I look at that now, with your explanation, is like, okay, yeah, we have a swim. It's like, cool, swim.
Yeah.
Right? And I'll bring that up as we get later on. It's like, all right, and then we have this Go Ruck Adventure with carries over obstacles, run to get back to the rig for 1,000 meters, and then 10 ring muscle ups at the end.
Yeah.
Outside of anything to do with like balanced programming, even though this is just the first event, this is something that would be a massive draw in entertainment for me to sign up for a competition to do.
Totally. If that was the event itself, I'd be like, dude, this is going to be fun. Like, it's just fun. It's got everything in there. It's got just weird stuff.
Right. When do I get an opportunity to do this on my own? Or why would I do this on my own when someone else can set this up for me and I get to compete with other people?
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. And where we're at as far as like events, I'm like, good, great start.
Yeah.
I like it. All right. So that was basically 1 and 2 to kick off the weekend.
Yeah.
And then we have double broad jump. Now, was this an isolated test?
Yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't like, hey, do an event and then at the end do this.
No, actually it was, you have 2 minutes to establish whatever your distance is you can get with 2 broad jumps. And then at 2 minutes, you'd go into the next event. So it was kind of like a precursor into whatever. But
so this is another kind of like A-B combo.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, it was scored by itself. And, in our CrossFit nerd text thread that we're all in, where there's like 15 of us in there.
Yeah.
This event got a lot of flack from a lot of people, which I can kind of see. I mean, I kind of get what it is. It's an odd way to.
Yeah.
You think it's almost like a skill. It was unique because it
skill?
was too well. You know what I mean? It's almost like it sounds like the softball throw.
Oh, like a hokey.
Yeah, you know. I like the fact that it was. You had to do 2 jumps, and like your feet had to. I mean, your feet couldn't move from takeoff to landing. No bobbling, no stepping, no nothing. There was this one guy, and I can't remember his name offhand. I think he was in the RX division. 22 feet.
Whoa.
Right. 22 feet on a double broad jump.
Are you serious?
Dude, this guy, he was a tall dude. He was like a football player. And he's like, I'm like, wow, you got hops. And he's like, yeah, we did this for football all the time.
That's true. I mean, the standing broad jump is part of the NFL.
Part of what they exactly. Okay. Which I think is important to note, because this event gets blown off a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But how is this max effort for distance any different than max effort for a lift or max effort for another thing? You know, it's like the lift is the lift, and all the strong people will be able to do that because they're good at lifting.
I mean,
but then you have this explosive hip opening, which is very similar,
right,
as far as a max effort.
Yep.
It's just so weird. It's really hard to look at it as something that would actually mean anything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But this dude, he jumped so damn far.
That's
every jump.
So far. I don't think people really understand how far that is.
No, go walk at it. Like if you're at your gym, go walk out 20 feet, and that's 2 jumps, 22 feet, 2 jumps.
2.
He hops out from dead stop.
Yeah.
Jumps, lands, dead stop. No stepping, no moving, no nothing, into another jump, land.
If they take a step, what did they do?
They had to come back. That one didn't count.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, they didn't count.
Didn't count.
Oh.
So you had your
2 minutes to
2 minutes to make one count. And I'll tell you what, there was a lot of athletes, and it's crazy because there were a lot of parallels to the softball throw. This event made it look like watching Jason Khalipa try to throw a softball, where it's like,
who was there?
You're this. Yeah, he was. I didn't even get a chance to see him. I was so bummed. You have these badass athletes that can't jump.
Okay.
Cannot jump.
Yeah.
Like straight leg, bop, bop, bop. That's it. No athleticism to their jump at all. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean, Go if I just said that, but like anything over 10 feet is elite.
Yeah.
For a single bound. Like if you're in the NFL combine and you jump over 10, like they're noticing. They're putting that on notice.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And to do that back-to-back times, trying not to slip or fall. That's... Oh, and here's the other thing. Like people, it's like, oh, softball throw. It's like, this was an actual event at the CrossFit Games in 2012 that nobody saw or knew existed. Like, I don't think people remember that. One, because it didn't get televised.
Yeah.
Or broadcasted, and it's just on the leaderboard. But it was... Standing broad jump was a event by itself. I think it might have been worth 50 points.
Yeah, it was a skills test.
It was a skills test. Yeah. You get 2 attempts. You got 2 attempts to get as far as you can, and they would take the furthest one. They wouldn't take the combo like this one.
And you had to keep it even in line. So there were people that were throwing it out. They couldn't even keep it like within some sort of a straight line.
Like basically like elongate or enlarge a ruler, and that's what it looked like you were jumping on. You had your feet behind, your toes behind a starting line. And then
actually, they did the broad jump at the games.
They did it at the games. They did it under the stadium because it rained.
Yeah.
I think it was supposed to happen the first day. And something happened or later or that morning, and it rained, so they moved it underneath the stadium. That's why not only did nobody see it televised, nobody actually saw it happen. But a standing broad jump was an event at the CrossFit Games.
Everyone, because everyone jokes about the softball, but everyone forgets about the jump. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody.
So,
I guess originally it was going to be a 3 jump is what Blair wanted, but they didn't have the room when they were testing it on the stage.
Yeah. So. And JR's in here. He's like, a test of power. And like you said, hip extension, explosiveness is like, that's a hang power clean.
Totally.
or a power clean or a max vertical or a max height box jump. It just might not be the sexiest thing to see in the world, especially if people aren't good at it, but doesn't take away that it has its place and it's been at the games before. So if you're going to shit on that, just let you know that it's been in the CrossFit Games. Not that that's a, end all be all. It's okay because they've done some pretty dumb things at the CrossFit Games too.
Yes, they have. Totally.
All right, so that broad jump was to go into the upside down.
The upside down.
All right. Now, I have this fear of competitions that when they see something that the games season does, they're like, let's fucking go. Shuttle runs. And now here comes the bar pullovers. And this test being 30, 20, 10 calorie row, 6, 4, 2 pullovers with an asterisk of the athletes must handstand walk 25 feet from the rower to the rig and backwards handstand walk 25 feet from rig to rower. So 30 cal row, 25-foot handstand walk, 6
Regular.
pullovers, 25-foot reverse handstand walk,
Yeah.
and then go 24
To the next round. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually asked Ben because I knew Dave was kind of in the mix, like with the qualifiers and stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, okay. Because I said the same thing. I'm like, seriously, everyone's gonna start throwing pullovers in now. Like, was this before the games or after? And he's like, no. Like Ben goes, we didn't have it before the games. I think what they originally had, I think it was bar muscle ups. That they had originally. And he's like, but we were doing some of the other pulling things and we saw that people were doing that. So we're like, let's throw those in there.
Yeah.
But
I'm not against it, but I'm just like, here it comes.
Well, but here's what my take on that was. I actually like this version of an event that has a pullover in it way better than at the games. The event at the games to me felt, and I even said that when we did our analyzing of it, I thought it was more like, okay, here's a circus act.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like to me. We're spinning and we're up, this, and this one made it feel like it was a race because it wasn't a gargantuan amount of pullovers. It was in the mix. And what it did is it got you just dizzy enough so that now you had to handstand walk backwards. And that's one thing that I haven't seen anywhere yet, walking backwards, other than when people couldn't walk forwards and they were walking backwards.
Yeah, we saw the regionals back in the day, but then they outlawed it.
It's kind of like doing it's like, doing Josh double unders backwards kind of thing, But I really like the way that it was put together and just a little bit of dizziness into the reverse handstand walk. That reverse handstand walk was the piece. That was the part. I mean, unless you were an athlete that wasn't able to get, the pullover. But I think, for the most part, especially like in the elite level, most of them could do decently on that. But that walking backwards was a trip.
How did that unfold? Because looking at that, I didn't get this really see any videos of people do it. Yeah. And my worry there is when you try to get a little too cute with a twist or a wrinkle. How did that unfold?
I like the way it was small sets of the pullovers because it wasn't like you said, it wasn't like a circus act. It was a piece in the middle before this handstand walk. And I don't think the handstand walk was, even though it was backwards, it wasn't cute enough to be like this really like, okay, man, like you're pushing the limits on this one.
Right.
It was a way that we haven't gone yet. It was, you'd see all the athletes hop up and they'd do their handstand walk down, do their, flips around the bar. And then now they're a little bit dizzy. And now you see them really struggling to find the balance on the way back. But it wasn't like, are they flopping around trying to do pirouettes? Are they trying to do a press to handstand that's like this weird modified version because no one really knows the actual standard of that yet? That's what I liked. It was a new skill. The standard is still pretty basic. Hands start in front of the line, and you got to walk backwards.
Is that weird? Like kicking up backwards behind the line and then
well, it was really, there were a lot of people that they would kick up and they would take a couple steps forward until they get their balance, and then they'd start to walk backwards.
Yeah, which is kind of what we used to do learning handstand walks. We would go backwards for a couple steps and then go forward.
Yeah. So I mean, it really came down, it came down to the handstand walk, I think, for the most. There were a handful of athletes where they pushed really, really hard, and if you were basically had to do the pullovers unbroken.
Mm-hmm.
But it was that handstand walk. We saw a lot of people getting passed up on that handstand walk. Honestly, it was way more enjoyable, and I could have seen a beefier version of that being in the games, and I would have been all for it in the games.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last question on that is the reverse of that. Like the regular handstand walk for 25 feet, nothing. 642 of pullovers, nothing. Those roll cows are significant. With the backwards handstand walk, that add enough of a difficulty that if you were actually to program it regular handstand walks, it would make it like the handstand walk somewhat worthless.
It totally. If you didn't have, if you had just a straight 25-foot handstand walk,
yeah,
it would have been, I think the athletes would have been, yeah. Now you have to push the row. Everyone knew that the row was like, I mean, your taller athletes, your shorter athletes, it wasn't about the row. Everyone knew they just had to do it. They had to be able to go from whipping themselves around that bar to balancing on the handstand walk backwards. It came down to that last 25 feet. Now, you didn't have to do that all unbroken. They had it broken into, I think it was crazy. It was like the smallest segments I've ever seen. I think it was like 4-foot segments. So like 5 4-foot segments. I think it ended up actually being like 20 feet.
Okay.
Not 25, but so they had that, but like you can't cheat 4 feet walking backwards.
Right.
People tried. There was a lot of people that did like belly flops on the ground trying to get their hands over that line.
You're trying to get no. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Like, you know how you can kind of lunge yourself forward to get like you couldn't really do it on this one. So it was definitely different. I like I said, like I really, it kept it under the line. If it would have been a long distance, I think it would have been too much. It was just enough to make it count, but not make it where, all right, now we're just, who's able to walk on their fingertips the best because they were a Cirque du Soleil dancer or something like that, Okay. I think it really, they did a great job of that one.
Cool. All right, next event, kayak 5K.
That's it.
Back in the water.
There it is.
And again, upon looking at it on the outside, I was like, oh, they had a single modality run. And then we had a single modality double jump. It's like, okay, now we got another single modality. Sorry, single modality swim. Did I say run?
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, another single modality monostructural. I was like, yeah. But then I was like, what are we testing? What is the event really supposed to be? And if I sign up for a CrossFit competition that is off season for funsies, Throwdown is like, ooh, I get to do a kayak.
You want to know what's great is, so have you ever gone like kayaking?
Yes.
Okay. Have you gone in like those Costco style big plastic?
Yes.
That's what we have. These elite level athletes. They were the only ones that did this one. They were put in there with the old school vest, the orange, big blocky looking things.
Yeah.
So you have elite level athletes put into not elite level equipment. It was very similar, I think, to where when we did Pendleton at the games, where you have these badass athletes and here you all these buff dudes and super athletic women, and they get on these like goofy, nerdy Trek straight up bikes with the straight handlebars, and they're not cool looking mountain bikes, not no sort of suspension, nothing. They're just like bike.
Yeah.
You're just biking on like the classic bike. That's what these were. So you're having them race in something that is not a very efficient racing machine.
Okay. I like it.
And it was probably about 45 minutes to an hour.
Damn.
So, I mean, yes, it's another monostructural. Yes, it's another, long type of event, but I think it was kind of cool that they dipped him into something that long.
Yeah.
And it was an easy way to do it with the equipment that you have. And again, like you have that going on at the same time. One of the things that we didn't say with the event is elite male and female, RX male and female, intermediate male and female, scaled male and female, masters 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60 plus, elite pairs, male and female. So you have a lot of people. And so with all, I think they had like 700 athletes, something like that. So with all of that, trying to get a very long event without taking up equipment, it works.
Yep. And then you turn right around and do not a long event.
Right.
And you have an 800-meter dash.
Yeah.
That could be half on concrete, half on dirt, depending on where you start.
Sorry, Caden. My bad, buddy. My bad.
Yeah,
It seems there too.
So you go from basically like upper body sustained maximal effort for a 5K kayak, which very, very few people have any, I would say zero of like that level of intensity at that distance.
Yeah, dude. You do this like where you're like looking at otters and stuff, or fishing. Like you don't do that for speed.
No. And then you turn around and you do an 800-meter dash, which is complete opposite world time frame and intensity and all lower body.
And it was so gnarly. 800. If you had the prettiest, cleanest track in the world, it would still be
800
completely ugly.
800 runners, man. This is one of the worst ones.
It is so bad. And you had all these athletes, and they all knew. They all like full send.
Yeah.
Ugly. Now, granted, one of the hard things about doing a mass start when it's all out like that is you get a lot of jockeying for position on maybe the takeoff isn't always the cleanest. So I mean, there are ways to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that as they come back and they look at that, it's like, okay, how could we adjust that? Where could we adjust? And again, like there weren't chip timers or anything like that. They didn't have that sort of technology. If they would have had that, they could have cleaned up a lot of those things. But again, if you're talking old school, that's a balance between like old school feel,
right,
and then new school kind of like professionalism. If they would have had those kind of things, you could have done it and split them up 30-second increments, like when they do like even in like triathlons, they'll do in waves.
Yep.
So it's not so bottlenecked.
Was it everybody at once?
Everybody at once.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm sure you saw the videos. I'm sure.
I did. All right. So we went, and this being our third single modality monostructural test: swim, kayak, run. One about 300 meters. 10 minutes for these guys? 10 to 12 minutes, 45 minutes. You were saying for the kayak?
Yeah.
And now 2 to 3 minutes.
Yep.
3 different ones: swim, kayak, run. Just put some things out there. And then you come into death grip. 4-time, 50 Russian swings, 5 rope climbs, 32 and 24 kg between the men and the women, or 53 and 70. Did you find out why they landed on Russian swings?
I think it's just a matter of like judgment. It's easier to judge. All you have to look at that point is that the arms are either parallel to the ground or that the kettlebell is over the shoulder. I'm not sure exactly what standard they had on that.
Yeah.
But that way they don't have to worry about, are the arms locked out? Does their body, do they get overextended at the midline? Mm-hmm. Is the kettlebell over the top, or is it over? Like they just get out ahead. 1, 2, I think that it keeps the tension on the grip more as you have to go into the rope climb.
So look, it's unbroken.
Yep.
Because it's not legless rope climb, so you can afford to get your grip
push it.
Hang on that, push the pace there. How long did this take? Right here. What am I talking about?
Dude, Caden, what did you get? Yeah, the score's right there.
Let's see. How do I get the? Okay, 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Time frame. By the way, there's no way this is 800 meters.
No. Well, I mean, They borrowed the wheel from the games.
Oh, got it. Right. 800 yards.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, there's some world records here for the. But another quick endeavor. Was this on the same day? Death grip and 800 meter.
I believe so. How many more are left? Let me look at the events here.
Let's see.
Yes.
Big snatch energy, sandbag complex, reverse Fran is what we have coming up.
Yeah, the death grip and the big snatch energy were on the same day.
Same day.
Which is on the Saturday.
All right, well, the next one being 6 minutes to establish a 1 rep max snatch. Athletes must buy in at 0 to 3 minutes with 50 double unders. So basically you start with 50 double unders and then you're good to go. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. You do your 50 double unders. You're lifting as you lift, whatever number you want, whatever weight you can go up and down. Then at 3 minutes, you have to do another 50.
Okay, so 2 sets of 50.
Yeah.
Oh, at 0 and at 3.
Right.
Throw some.
So you basically have like 2.5 minutes or so, depending how you are, 2 to 2.5 minutes each time to lift.
Okay.
Got some big lifts out there.
Yeah, dude. Looks like
280 pounds, 285.
All right. Yeah. 295, 285, 280 for the men.
Yeah.
I mean, shoot. All right. And then you come to sandbag complex, which is 5 down to 1, sandbags over the shoulder, sandbag squats, the time or the weight being 160 and 120. So getting below parallel 15 times with this. Have we really gone below parallel yet? Aside from like the snatch, but
no, but we will here, and then you will on the last
we will back to back.
Yeah. We'll fit it in.
Yeah. And okay. Pull from the floor over the shoulder, a little power clean, little squat in the front pack. I mean, like we have different movement patterns we're adding to this, but still short.
Yeah.
Right? So like very short. And same time frame, what, 2 to 3 minutes that we're seeing here. I keep trying to look this up. Where do I press? Anyways. 2 to 3 minutes. And then the last thing we land on is the finale was reverse Fran. Now, the weights they have here are not the weights they used. Did they change the weights last minute?
They announced after the big snatch energy. Yeah. They changed it from reverse Fran, 9, 15, 21 pull-ups and thrusters. They went chest to bar.
Mm-hmm.
And they bumped the weight up. And there was some discussion on the weight of what they wanted to use, whether it was going to be 135, 95, or whatever. Yeah. And it was kind of cool. We actually got to help them kind of pick the weight on that. Okay. And so we landed on the 115, 75 based on if it was 135, 95, there would have been a lot more breaks and it would have been a lot easier. And this 115... like it rode people right to the line. Okay. It made Fran look like Fran used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because there were people that
and the numbers going up, not down.
Right. Yeah. So bad, dude. It all came down. Like you saw so many athletes really coming out hot on 9 into the 15, and usually 15 is so bad because you've just done 21. Right. 15 is not nearly as bad when you've only done 9, and so then it all comes down to the final 21. Like, are you unbroken and can you hold on to the barbell? And those that did got the really good times. There were obviously, we've talked about Fran and what that looks like as far as judging wise. And I think that those guys did a good job of trying to relegate as much of the issues as they could by really coaching the judges up through. I mean, there were a lot of no reps that should have been called no reps, but the judges, I mean, again, they're volunteer judges. They're out there, and it's really hard to, you always kind of want to do okay, get lower. Come on now, you got to get lower than that. You got to get lower than that until Ben and Blair came up and circled everybody up and said, no, you don't warn them on this one. This one is no rep deeper. And so Ben came out, he started blasting people on no reps. and then the judges kind of got it. And so by the time they got to the elite level, it was a lot closer.
Okay.
And then they also took 4 of their main people, and they had 20 lanes that were going at a time. 4 of their main judges, so Ben, Blair, Lauren, and Matt, the other head judge, and the kind of the GM director of the floor ops. They all took 4 lanes.
Okay.
And so they were watching the judges as they were doing. So they didn't have to scour the whole floor. They just had 4 people to watch. I think they did a much better job than it would have been. I mean, obviously, you're going to see people that ride the line. You're going to see reps that aren't counted, or as no reps that people get away with. But it was way less than I think that it would have been, could have been if it was done any other way.
Well, and with those weights, like when I first saw this, I was like, God, this is even in reverse. Like, I don't think this is a great idea.
Right.
But
it was. So it was, Tim Paulson was there. It was cool talking to him and seeing what he had to say about that, because he's like, what's great is when you know an elite level athlete and what their abilities are based on, here we are talking about how they respond and how they move and how they do this. But when he reiterates that exact same thing, he's like 135, okay, that would have been better for me. 115, shit.
Yeah.
That's just gonna hurt.
Yep.
Because now you know. It's like, well, I have no option other than to do every single thing unbroken. I don't have an option.
Right.
And there were some really good races. It was amazing. There were people that failed out on 19 on the thruster, like collapsed at 19. And it's like they're up in the front, and then all of a sudden they're 8th, 12th.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Good. I mean, I'm glad they made the change.
Yeah, totally. And I think that, talking about the old school wise, like I'm not a fan of putting Fran in a workout for a competition. It puts way too much pressure on the judge, on the judging team, on these volunteers to have to see what they need to see, and then have the confidence to just blast people because you have to. Like at that point, you're not like judging to have everyone do a fair. It's like you need to be just a complete dick.
Right.
And it's a really hard position. But I think, in the spirit of the OG-ness that they were trying to do, it was a really good good attempt at trying to make that work for the event.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Overall, looking at it, 10 total events for the competition. We've said this a few times already, but like half of them being single modality, 3 of those being monostructural, 1 gymnastics, which is the broad jump, and then 1 is weightlifting, which is the snatch. 4 of them sub 3 tests in there. Had 1 45 plus, which is the kayak. You had the 20 plus part B of the obstacle course run. You had the swim, which is about anywhere, it looks like 6 to 10 minutes. The upside down is about the same time frame. Looks like 7 to 8 minutes.
Yeah, they had a 10-minute basic
10-minute time cap
on that one.
Looking at the programming, sure. Half of it being single modality, not ideal for overall balance. Over a third, all being almost in the same time domain, right? Like 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Different total tests: 800-meter run, kettlebell swing, rope climb, sandbag cleans and squats, and then Fran. It's like 4 different ways to do it.
Yeah.
Time frame aside from that. That being said, like we said, for what the event was, the purpose of what behind it starting, what they want to actually promote while they're there, never in the explanation of who they are and what they do they say is like, we want to be the premier test of fitness in the off-season spaces. Like the CrossFit started here in California. The CrossFit Games started here in California. There was a vibe to California competitions different than anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
Because of that, there's a community and culture that was created there. And since it got taken away from them back in 2019, they wanted to bring that back. So we want to bring back the fireside barbecue fitness competition with elite CrossFitters and celebrate that along with the other divisions that they had there. We want to do it with fun, challenging programming that is outside the norm of what you would do in your affiliate, or maybe at a more structured, boxed in type of competition where we have to get like all the barbells split evenly with some odd objects and some time domains. Is like, dude, we're going to do an obstacle course. We're going to do a swim. We're going to do a kayak. We're going to race each other with a foot race. Like, we're just doing a foot race in the streets. That's what we're doing. It's not an 800 meter run for time. It's just a foot race. Right. And if that's what they want to do, and then coupled with what you said, the vibe was there, I think Northern California Classic is something that if people want to just have a great event to go to or to be a part of or to compete in, it's one of the more OG style, back in the day, good time barbecue throwdowns that we have in the space.
100%. I think that, and a couple different things, like they only had two stages of competition to run 700 athletes on. So the judging or the programming that they need to use has to be able to accommodate all that. So that's obviously going to make it kind of difficult at times to get, the absolute correct programming in there. I think more importantly for Ben and Blair, rather than finding a completely well-rounded circle of competition, is they want to do some stuff that's just going to be fun and weird and different that you're not going to be able to do in your normal gym. And the third thing is this. Here's this local competition, $25,000 for the winner of the elite division.
Right.
$25,000. That's not a prize purse of winner, male and female get that. I think the teams got the elite pairs, $5,000 each.
Damn.
All of the age groups, $1,000 is a winner, and I think they did the top 3, and I think the top 8 or top 10 in the elite division got money. So I mean,
that is where you do want to make sure that the program is at least
100%
comparable to.
Well, I think what's more important is the judging needs to be more on point.
Yeah.
Even more than the programming, because you can say, hey, it's my race. You can choose to come up to the race if you want. You just want to make sure that like everyone's being judged exactly the same, which it does put a lot of pressure on the judges. I mean, you're competing for real money. It's not just who gets a 6-pack and a free burger.
Right.
Yeah.
And for the men's side, freaking Sean Sweeney apparently still does this stuff.
You want to know what's crazy? I was talking to him. He's like, this is great. It's like, I haven't been working out nearly as much as I normally do. He's like, you know what? CrossFitters, I had to come out for the money. I was really worried because I haven't been working out as much. And I'm like, that's probably what, dude, he looked great.
I mean, I saw pictures of him. I'm like, you look the same.
Great, dude. He moved well. He was strong.
Mm-hmm.
God dang. Yeah, he was awesome.
Yeah. Sean Sweeney, 51 points total. Now, was it points per place or how did they do it?
They did, points per place. It's like 1 to whatever. I think it's kind of how they did that. How'd they do that?
Not like,
I wasn't even really watching that, honestly, because I was on the floor the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, like, you get second, you get 2 points.
Something like that, yeah.
It looks like it. 51. Tim Paulson gets second with 71 points, and Malachi Bennett gets third with 76. On the elite female side, Brittany Weiss, 56. Lauren Fisher, 70. Elizabeth Wishart, 71. So those are your top 3 on the elite individuals coming out of it. So end of the weekend, Bill, give us your Element 26 thumb tape review.
Oh man, I'm gonna say 1.5, and the reason I say 1.5 is, and that's a fuck yeah 1.5, not a.
Like 1.5 is not low. I don't know if people think that that's bad, but that is a very high grade.
Yeah.
For our system.
I mean, in with all of the things that we talked about, with all of the reasons why, again, I think that as part of the professionalism and part of the thing that if you're going to get big names and have big money, you have to really somehow shore up that judging as much as you can. Now, I understand that live competition. You're going to get good judges and bad judges, and I get it. I just think that for the event itself, one of the things, and we talked about, making sure everything's on time, making sure that the judging is done good. And if that's number 2, then that's something that they have to really make sure that they put a lot of time and energy into. So, yeah, 1.5. I think, dude, it's if you want to come to a cool event, you got to sign up for that event. It's just fun. It's just such a good time.
From since I was not there and I'm looking from the outside in a bit more objectively,
Totally.
I'm going to give it a 1.1 for overall programming and a 2.0 of an event that I would like to do. Like, I want to do all of those, all of them.
Yeah.
Like, I want to do the swim, clearly, obstacle courses with running. Hell yeah, muscle ups at the end. Like, okay, now we do an 800 meter, fine. Then we get to do a kayak. Like, I would love to do all of these.
Yeah.
Reverse Fran, no problem. Heavy bag, okay. Walking backwards and pullovers, like, fuck yeah. Like, let me do that. Let me climb a rope as fast as I can 5 times.
Yeah.
I'll do that. But for the outside thing of an objective programming view, I'll give it a 1.1. But for something that I want to do, 2 thumbs, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at that. That's
love
why I
it.
have my 1.5
See?
right in the middle.
There we go. There we go. All right, team. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. Same time, same place. Come join us. Have some fun. Kick with us on a Thursday. Other than that, Bill, good to see you. You guys.
You too, dude.
See you tomorrow.
Bye, guys.